Okay, let's talk vibrato at first. So, yeah, like I said, as far as like any exercises, like there's really not I know of anything you can really do other than just try it. I did make a video a long time ago, a handful of years ago, taking what somebody else had said and using that to kind of answer the same thing. Because somebody back when I was taking requests of what to make YouTube videos about when I had the time, that's how to practice vibrato. Well, one thing I've never tried this. It might be worth trying, but like using it to a metronome and just practicing bends with the click. Now, I got this idea from Tom Hess, and after what I've learned about Tom Hess, it really makes me question if I should actually use any of that advice from him. But, you know, because it's like a series of small bends, the vibrato, you can practice like something like that, and then just kind of work that up and trying to keep control over the timing of it. Ugh. And just kind of keep working that up. Something like that. So just like a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just keep going with it. Keep trying to bend up to a correct note. Again, that's basically how vibrato is, just a series of really small bends, or fast bends. So you could keep working it up that way. Ooh. So yeah. So I'm doing that bending it up kind of thing there. That's one way of doing the vibrato. It's more like hitting that bend one that you want to do, I think. So when I do this, well, let's see. Because when I'm doing vibrato, I just basically figured out a way to kind of jiggle the string. I know some people talk about like using your wrist and kind of doing this thing with it, which is what I was kind of doing there. But like I can't do the BB King thing where he like, you know, does that weird thing where he's like moving the string back and forth like that. I have no idea how the hell that works. So I can't teach that. I've heard Paul Gilbert talk about just like kind of doing this motion with it. And it's like I can't really do that because it feels more like almost like pushing up, not doing this, but like pushing up a little bit. So there's some finger involved with it. If you're gonna do the upward vibrato, like we're pushing it up. But what I typically do is I bend down. And I'm not even doing a full step. I'm just doing kind of like quarter step, maybe even a half step bend. So as far as like doing that with a metronome, it's like you could, but for me it's just like get used to just jiggling the finger. So that's what I'm doing. Like there I'm using a bit more arm. I just naturally want to use more arm to help it go. And there I don't need it so much. Once I get the middle finger involved, then I want to start using my arm to help out with it. Practice do it with the ring finger. Like my arm wants to do the vibrato. And that's if I'm pulling it down, which I have more control over pulling it down versus going up with it. Yeah, I just feel way better yanking it down. Now, yeah, there's a bit of arm involved with what I'm doing anyway. Again, there's different techniques to it. That's just kind of how I figured out how to do it. The high E string, that's a different story because you can't pull that one down. So you're going to have to do the series of bends going up. Or I like to do like the side to side thing on the high E string. Kind of really dig into that string. You can hear a little bit there, but it's kind of like just moving your hand back and forth, and that can actually cause a bit of a vibrato. It sounds a little bit better up there, but yeah, so the high E string you'd have to do little upward bends. But everywhere else, you can go down. And as far as like the bending and vibrato, just really, again, you just got to do it. Bend it up, come down a little bit, and just get used to kind of shaking that string. So yeah, I have no, what I don't think is great practical advice on it, because it's just like, well, this is what I'm doing, and you just got to keep practicing it. It's kind of like with the pinch harmonic. So I've been told by at least a couple people I have horrible vibrato. In fact, one guy hated my vibrato so much that he quit the Patreon page and said my vibrato was so bad it was dangerously bad. It's like, goddamn. As far as using whammy bar stuff, better get the tuning checked here a little bit. Sounding close, but not so close. I'm tuned down a half step with this guy now. Right. So I typically, I don't use a whammy bar a whole heck of a lot. In fact, it had been like over 20 years since I got another one finally. I like to be real subtle with it when I do use it. I like doing stuff like that. Kind of like tap it down like that. Now, it looks like you and I have basically the same kind of guitar there. So you do that little thing with it, where you like really smack the hell out of it. That flutter. Whereas you get good old dive bomb in that. Now I know some people are able to get a harmonic just by like tapping on the fret there. I've never been able to get that to go, so I'm just doing like this. This thing's not picking up very well. I need a compressor to make up for some of this. Yeah, something you'll hear a lot of in metally things. People just hitting the harmonics and yanking the shit out of this. So, yeah, there's not a whole lot I can really talk about the whammy bar. There's some people have like whammy bar tricks and whatnot, but that's not something I know a whole heck of a lot about. What I just showed is basically what we use it for. If you got that Sustainiac going, then you can really have some fun with it. My battery is not in there because it kept dying, even though I didn't even have it plugged in. So I just tend to keep it out. So hopefully you got something useful out of that. Let's talk about this new stuff here you're going to be doing. Alright, let me change the setting here. Okay. So this next thing we are using the, what would that be? The fourth pentatonic and diatonic shapes we've been learning. And going to be putting in the power chords just like before and the clean chords under that. So make sure that you pick chords like the power chord stuff. Pick the chords that are close together, so this way you have an easy time playing the whole thing. We don't want to be jumping around too much all over the place. Let's see. So that's it. That was it for the chords there. So once you get the chord stuff filled in, send it on over. Make sure you label the chord names too. And let's demonstrate the lead. Change the setting again. Alright, so let's just play along with the metronome since everything is on screen. So, a little bit of rhythm going on here. So, the ascending portion, at least for the pentatonic, we got 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4. So, we'd have 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4. And then the descending portion of the pentatonics, we got 1E and 2E and 3E and a 4. 1E and 2E and 3 and a 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1E. Said that wrong. So that again. 1E and 2E and 3E and a 4. 1E and 2E and 3E and a 4. 1E and 2E and 3E and a 4. And then for the diatonic part, we got some galloping for the ascending. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. And then for the descending parts, 1E and a 2, 3E and a 4. Whoops. Yeah, so 1E and a 2, 3 and a 4. 1E and a 2, 3 and a 4. So those are the different rhythms happening here. Let's play the whole thing now. 1 2, 3, 4. Damn it! This part here, that's where I goofed it up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, let me play that a few more times and then try the whole thing again. Alright, from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay, next thing, working with modes. Alright, so this one's definitely more complicated. And we're also going to start with Lydian. And the reason why is because you're going to be changing only one interval as you go from one mode to the next. Now, the way this is put together currently, the notes here, that's what's down here and over and over and over again. So even though this is labeled E Lydian, everything right now, the notes that are tabbed out, makes everything E Lydian. You do have the mode name it's going to be. So your job is to turn this into E Ionian, or the major scale. And then you need to turn this into E Mixolydian. And then you need to turn this into E Dorian, and so on. So the further you go, the more things you will have to change. Now, instead of labeling every single different note in here, all the intervals, I just chose the very first ones, or the new ones, for each bar. So I labeled this one a 1, and I used the chord diagram box to do so. So when you go to label your intervals down here, just hit the letter A like you're going to name a chord, and then just type in the interval number. So it's always going to start with a 1. Always going to start with a 1. You may not even want to label the open E string. You don't have to. It's always going to be the 1 anyway. But that one, yeah, label that, even though that's always going to be the 1. That's important. So most of these things will start 1 and 5. So you got to label what it's going to become and then change the notes to match it. So you got your reference up here. So, for example, this bar, we see the 7 and the sharp 4 being labeled. So when you come down here, you gotta label that as the 7. And what you need is not a sharp 4 anymore. It needs to become a 4. Notice that these notes are repeated in the bar. So you got to make sure you change everything. So before we had the sharp 4, now we need to make this a 4. So we got to lower that down to a regular old 4. Same thing with that one. So you got to keep changing stuff as you go to make sure it all matches up. And then, again, you're going to be... Actually, let's just do the whole thing here so you got a good example. So you don't have to worry about labeling the open E. That's always going to be the 1. So that's a 1. And then this is a 5. And then repeated notes, we can leave that alone. 7 and then a 4. And then reference what was already there. So 6 and a 3. That's 6. That's a 3. And that's still part of Ionian. Whoops. Uh-oh. So that's all fine. Nothing to change there. So they got the 5 and the 2. So we're not changing any of that. And then the next bar. So previously, Lydian has a sharp 4 and a 1. So remember, we can't have a sharp 4 anymore because we're going into Ionian. So we need to make it your perfect 4th or just your natural 4th. So we're going to label this a 4 because that's what it needs to be. And then we lower the 13 down to the 12 because that's the note we need it to be. This is the 1 again. And so here's the sharp 4, dropping it down to the regular 4, and the same thing here. So make sure you change all the notes in the bar so everything's correct. And then, yeah, keep referencing what was done before. So next, you got the 3 and the 7, so that's Ionian as well. We don't change anything there. 2 and 6, so put in the label. It's important. It's going to help you out progressing through here. And then finishes with the 1 and the 5. Oops. So you're going to keep doing that each time you change modes here. So like going into E, or going into E Ionian now. So remember, I'm saying that wrong. So you have the correct intervals up here right now for Ionian. And I made the changes necessary to have all the right notes. A good indication you'd put in the correct note is in the standard notation here, you shouldn't see any sharps or flats or natural symbols at all because the key signature is being used. So that's a pretty quick way to tell. Like down here, you see the sharps right there. Those notes don't belong. They're wrong. But anyway, you got to label the intervals again. So you compare this bar, the first bar of the mode, to this one. So 1 and the 5, that's part of Mixolydian, so you put that in, just label it as is and leave it. But then here, 7 and 4, well, remember, this came from the Lydian. So you got to make a lot of changes each time. So you got to change this one to a flat 7 to make it Mixolydian. Now this, coming from Lydian, was a sharp 4, so we need to make it a natural 4 again, just like Ionian, and flat that note too. So as you progress, it's going to have more and more stuff to change. So Ionian's done, Lydian's done, Ionian's done. Now work on Mixolydian. See if you can figure that one out. Send that over once you have Mixolydian filled in. I'll let you know if you're going the right direction. And because, yeah, the more we go through this, the more material needs to be corrected. Because, again, this is currently Lydian that's tabbed out, but we need to turn it into Dorian. And if this ends up feeling too dang confusing, that's fine. We'll just do it together next week, but give it your best. And yeah, running through this, we're basically got like a lot of power chord stuff up here with that E note droning along. And we're just changing. We're moving our way down through the mode there. So every now and then we're going to have a slightly different shape. And actually I just did Ionian. So we really just got like these 2-finger power chords up here at the top. So we have another way of hearing these modes. So get right there, that sharp 4 getting used, you're going to have that different fingering. But then back to the regular shape. And then the Ionian, it's going to sound a little bit different. So, yeah, definitely at least play through the Lydian and Ionian to hear how it sounds a little bit different. And then, yeah, fill out Mixolydian the best you can, make the appropriate changes best you can, send it over, and we'll check it out. And, yeah, I think that'll cover it. So, got those chords for the lead thing to fill in again. Just a reminder. So we want the chords to be filled in for number 1. Send those over when you got it. With the power chords especially, choose chords that are close together so you're not moving around too much. You want to keep it as easy as possible on yourself. And then once you got Mixolydian, or you've created Mixolydian in this thing here, send that over. Let's make sure the Mixolydian is looking correct, that you make sure you understand what to do. And then we'll let you go after the rest. All right, lots of stuff to do, lots of stuff to think about. Take your time with it. Write things down if you need to help yourself out. Reference the old material, especially so you know what is different in each mode. There we go. All right, we'll see you again next week.